Largie. I'm the Senior Manager of Product and Tech. And effectively, we're responsible for looking after the feature roadmap and the technology of Beam.
What's the difference between Beam and Small Business Clearinghouse from the ATO, for example?
Yeah, absolutely. It's important to recognise, for all employers, they all need different solutions depending on what their business is like and things like their size. So it's important to have options for all. Those that don't necessarily need things like professional payroll software, a portal can be nice and easy for them. So Beam Connect, our portal, allows employers that don't want to pay for software, that are looking for something simple to pay contributions nice and easily via a website. So it has useful features like uploading your files, managing your employees, those types of things. But it's designed for people who aren't going to use such as a payroll software.
What about the people who are using Super Clearinghouse like through their super fund to pay? I mean, what's that process like for someone who's paying super?
They're very handy, they're very accessible, they're free, but ultimately they do take a little bit more effort and you can get some challenges in moving data from one system to another.
What is the value in paying for that solution compared to using a free option?
The beauty of the embedded solution is it's very streamlined and really easy to use. So it saves you time, it saves you effort. It has things like built-in validation, so the two systems are talking to each other rather than you having to transfer information yourself. The systems are transferring that information for you automatically. So it's very convenient, but it also reduces errors. It reduces timeframes because the systems are integrated and that means they talk to each other without you having to do anything.
How important is it having all of your payments data in one place?
The source of truth is critical. If you think about some of the errors that we see, some of those can be repetitive. It's important that a user goes and changes the source of the information. Otherwise, that's going to happen again and again and again. Every now and then we see things like a superannuation fund changes its details, and you have to go and update every single employee. If you're doing that manually, that's quite time consuming. But if you don't take the effort, you'll get repetitive errors again and again and again. The importance of avoiding those issues in the first place or resolving them quickly when they happen is more important than ever. Otherwise, the burden of those errors is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Payday Super is going to really push employers to get payments done both quickly but also correct each time. Is that streamlined super payments software worth the investment for the time saved?
Absolutely. I think the important part about Payday Super is the changes that come together. It's certainly increasing the frequency of superannuation contributions. And if you did it in the same way that you do today or yesterday, it's going to take much more time. But importantly, with changes like Payday Super, technology advancement comes along. And the aim of that advancement is really to simplify it, streamline it further and make it faster. So it's great today. Embedded solutions like Beam are really convenient to use.
What tech are we prioritizing? What tech should small businesses prioritize? What's important to people now?
For us, we think about, with Payday Super coming, how does the entire process work end to end? And how can we introduce features that bring some of those disparate steps together to work seamlessly, right from when an employee is joining to the point that they're paying their super or they're changing their super. When you think about it currently, things like onboarding someone to your new business doesn't necessarily do things like choice in a streamlined fashion, but to get the right super fund information right at the start is important for the superannuation contribution to work. And then having a clearinghouse function or a super payments function like Beam that connects that information to your super fund just makes the whole process streamlined end to end.
Is there a technology that's coming that the industry needs to focus on?
Yeah, there's a few changes coming with it. I think the great job that regulators have done with Payday Super is to consider the impacts and ensure they're encouraging investment in technology in the right way. So a couple of examples, the best one probably being new payments platforms and real-time payments. Whilst clearinghouses can be quite fast, some of the older payment methods, think direct debit, right? They can be quite time consuming to get from the employer all the way to the super fund because of some of the clearance periods and those types of things. New payments platform and options like Pay2 change that significantly. It means that payments get from the employer to the clearinghouse to the super fund much more quickly. And that means from an obligation perspective, there's less wastage or lead time in that process. You get information more quickly, you get information back more quickly, and that just gives you a little bit more time to make sure that you're taking care of the contribution and the obligations.
Is MPP or next payment platforms, how does that actually change the process? What is the solution behind that that's making that so much quicker?
Yeah, I mean, the beauty of Beam is that our reconciliation is done same day. So really the delays are built into the payment rails. The new standard, things like Pay2 under the NPP platform, effectively means that the banks are talking to each other in near real time. So they're settling transactions throughout the day. It removes the old school concept of batching. So Beam is already able to reconcile in real time. Like you said, EFTs, BPays, you pay today. It's not necessarily recognised until tomorrow, and then you've got to send it to the super fund. The real concept of NPP is intraday settlement. So your payments are received, they're known, and they're reconciled earlier, and then they can be sent on quite quickly, and they reach the fund much more quickly as well. So you're taking processes that might take 3 to 5 days on average to get that payment end to end, and you're effectively making it only 1 or 2 days.
With NPP, that data goes with the money, right? And so does that mean that when I pay something, if it's wrong, I'll know about it straight away?
Yeah, the beauty of the network is data can move really quickly, so payments are really what's holding it up. You touch on a really good concept, a really important concept for Payday Super. When everything works, generally the obligations are going to be okay. So as long as you're submitting on time and if everything works, you won't have a problem with your timeframes. However, we need to recognise errors and refunds and those processes. And the new shorter timeframes also put a little bit more pressure for things like refunds and resolving exceptions. So the process has to work just as well coming back to employers and ensuring that errors are upfront where possible. They're really clear so that our customers know what to do with them, and ultimately allows the user to fix those errors and resend the contribution really quickly. The beauty of what's coming is that there's improvements to validations, there's improvements to the errors and the error types so that we can have clearer explanations. And ultimately, we will be using the same types of payment methods back. So refunds will take less time to get back to employers. The information takes less time to get in people's hands to resolve any problems that they might have.
This change is really going to get money into people's funds days, weeks earlier than it previously was. Do you think that's going to have much of an impact?
Absolutely. I think it's really the primary reason for the regulators bringing in these changes is to look after members' super and provide better retirement outcomes. We know that over time, shares and our investments go up over time on average, and effectively getting those contributions into their super funds more quickly means that they get higher earnings over time. So it makes a difference to their retirement, and a significant difference. It also means broadly across the superannuation industry, there's less waste. What it does do is mean that there's change coming to enable that. And we need to prepare for it. We need to make sure we're choosing the right solutions. We're cleaning up our data and we're getting familiar with the new obligations and the solutions that are available so that we're able to support that without creating too large a burden on what is already a job that employers have to do.
Is there anything that people who are using Beam already can look forward to in the coming months? What are we doing to prepare ourselves for this?
We're quite excited about the changes. We really believe in the reasons for Payday Super. One of the things we're most excited about is the concept of bringing an employee's choice and their onboarding together with their super payments and connecting those two concepts. Stapling is effectively used after the fact when an employee has already failed to give a choice nomination for their super fund. And that means the employer has to go take an extra step to find out that super fund. Some of the ideas being proposed under Payday Super are things like making that stapling service available upfront to an employee when they're making their choice. That should maximise choice. It should mean we get the right information up front. It looks after the member, but it also makes sure that we're not creating a problem for the employer by skipping a really useful service. So we're excited about bringing those features together and making sure that we're able to actually bring the information to the right step in the process and as early as possible to really increase the efficiency and streamline contribution processes.
It really does put super into real terms, right? It's real money happening right now. It puts it in real terms in real time. You see that money processing so much quicker. You're watching it go into an account so much quicker. Like the change for us, and I think what excites us in this building, is it puts super less as a burden and more as an opportunity for employers and employees.
Absolutely. I mean, super creates huge value for people in their life. It's one of the biggest investments that they have. And right now, I'm not sure, everybody's a little bit different, but I know myself, I'm not watching my superannuation account for the single contribution to come in irregularly. Super's quite slow at the moment. And
you don't have the alerts? I've got alerts. I get notified every time. It's like a little success. It's like a second pay every time I get notified.
That's right, but it can be confusing as well because super is paid so far after your pay, trying to track things like what pay period was that contribution for? Why am I getting a notification 3 or 4 weeks after my pay's already hit my bank account? And it's because the processes between pay and super today are really disparate. Payday Super brings them together. And so one, it makes it clearer about the superannuation you're being paid and what pay period it refers to. But also it means that you're getting that more regularly. So you're able to see that in your super account much faster, much more regularly, and really see your balance grow in a different way.
For the people that are getting regular salary, same money every fortnight, every month, whenever their pay period is, the super novelty kind of wears off, right? Like it's just the same money dropping in every time. But I think this is really going to impact, and this technology is really going to change things for people that are on casual shifts. People that don't work the same hours every week, seeing that super come in real time gives them the ability to check that their boss is paying them the right amount and that they are being paid super. There is so much unpaid super in this country. I think putting it in real terms and real time means that you can see it happen and check that it's right.
Yeah. The changes really enable us to make sure that the right super is being paid at the right time. It's not just about the employee being able to see that. It makes it a lot more visible, makes it a lot simpler by linking it to your pay. But at the same time, it also means there's more regular information going to the regulators. So the regulators can match up super liabilities. They can match up the superannuation that's been paid, and they can make sure that everyone's keeping on top of their super. You think about some of the horror stories that you see. We know that right now, small businesses have the highest failure rate than they've had in many decades because of economic conditions. And whilst we very much sympathise, a lot of the impact of that is where business fails. Things like super go unpaid because they're so far in the future or the payments are so far behind. Things like Payday Super means that super is being paid much more quickly, and therefore there is less likelihood of falling behind on super. And those employees that are affected in those situations don't miss out on what's a really important payment to them. It's quite powerful in what it's doing, not just for what it means for member accounts in earlier contributions, but also in terms of managing unpaid super and being able to better look after those employees' rights.
And again, the technology change is really the heart of this, because you can see when you fall behind much quicker. You're now no longer waiting past the quarter ending, maybe a month after, until you see that money show up in your fund. You see it happen immediately and you go, hey, that's not right. It can be solved before it has to be escalated to the ATO, before it has to be raised at a much higher level.
Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, not that it was intentional, but in the way super was paid before and being paid quarterly, it's somewhat used to help manage cash flow. Like you said, it's a really large amount when you're paying quarterly. Now it means that effectively the superannuation contributions are higher on the list of priorities. They're paid sooner, they're seen more regularly, they're more visible to everyone.
The analogy that I would draw is it's kind of like the government saying the road that we've provided is pretty good, but there's a toll road if you want to use it. You're not going to take the toll road if it's only going to save you a minute or two, but if it's going to save you 30, 40 minutes on a journey, if it's going to save you effort and time, you're more likely to take that option. And I do think that that's where it's at now with Payday coming in. The service that they've provided has always just been fine. The government standard clearinghouse, it gets the job done. But if you need it to not take days, there is a paid option or there are options that cost money that you can take if you want it. That's really the choice that's being put before people. How valuable is your time doing a pretty easy job?
That's the best way to put it, right? How valuable is your time? And so if it's only a small cost to you, the important thing is that we maintain those solutions for those employers. So while Small Business Clearinghouse is closing, we're investing in our Beam Connect portal to provide the same great features that we already provide today, but prepare them for Payday Super. And then with our software providers looking at enhancing the software channel to make sure that works. Absolutely, we've got to put a cost on our time. Importantly, we need to make sure that we also have great solutions for employers no matter their needs. So all the way from those that are looking after one or two employees to the largest employers in Australia. They need different things, but we're creating solutions for all.
I think that's it. Thank you very much. It's been very helpful. We're done.